Stephen A. Smith went on a Joe Budden podcast and exposed in the cruelest way possible why he got Max Kellerman fired.
What do you say to the people that say they saw the tension between you and Max developing on air before his departure from the show? Did you hear any of that?
I heard some of it. I would take full responsibility for that. That's totally my fault.
Okay.
And the reason why it was my fault, because I didn't like working with him, man.
I've heard Stephen A. Smith tell this story on different other platforms like Ebro, but today he chose to be as brutal and cruel as possible. Now, he always says it's never personal, it's always business when it comes to him and Max departing, but when you say you didn't like working with somebody or you didn't enjoy working with somebody, that screams you had an issue with them as a person. Because, you know, we can acknowledge, hey, bro, our working relationship is not working. We're not being as successful as I think I can be with somebody else. That's different than, oh, I don't even enjoy speaking to this person for 2 hours.
It's just that damn simple. I didn't like it. I thought the show was stale. I thought that we had flatlined when it came to the public at large, and I'm trying to win. I mean, I didn't want to go from number 1 to number 2 when Skip left. That's not what I wasn't having that. That shit was not going to happen.
Did anything in the numbers say that you might have been headed that way?
No, but to me it did.
Creatively?
To me it did, not just creatively, but the consistency of the number.
Got it.
In other words, it wasn't going this way.
Yeah.
It was just there.
It was just there.
When Skip Bayless left, they was number 1. When Max Kellerman came, they was number 1. And for 6 years, Max Kellerman and Stephen A. Smith was number 1. So Stephen A. Smith essentially was saying, bro, hey, I just didn't enjoy talking to this person, which is cool, but be honest about it. Stephen A. Smith will also go on and take a shot at Max Kellerman, like probably the biggest shot you can give to any commentator, essentially saying that because Max Kellerman isn't a journalist or an athlete, that people had no reason to respect Max Kellerman's opinion.
Mad respect from him from the standpoint that white dude, highly intelligent, Ivy League educated from Columbia, smart as a whip, can talk his ass off, can talk about anything. And I get all of that. But you weren't an athlete and you weren't a journalist. And the absence of the two components left people wondering, why should we listen to you?
Now, Stephen A. Smith would also say that he went upstairs to the bosses and told them, listen, man, it's either Max or it's me. Y'all make a decision. And obviously, they chose Stephen A. Smith over Max.
Now, I didn't have the authority to let him go.
But you have coffee with the person that.
How about that? I mean? How about that? And so what I did was, I've been very honest and very consistent about it. There's nothing personal. We weren't enemies or anything. To be real, we ain't spoke since, other than high and by, or if I had to go on the show when they were doing the morning show, I would get interviewed. But there's been no conversations since, and that's fine with me. That's no problem, because it wasn't like we were boys or anything like that. When I went upstairs to management, my exact words were, look, if he's that important to you, give him first take. I'll leave.
Stephen A.
Stephen A. I'm telling you what I said. I'm only giving you what I said.
Old school trick.
I'm only giving you what I said.
God, he went in that office hot.
2 hours later, I got the call. We making a change.
Twitter heard that soundbite and started going crazy with it, and people started throwing out their own, I guess, theory as to why Stephen A. Smith wanted Max Kellerman gone. One user brought up a clip from T.O., Max Kellerman, and Stephen A. Smith, and he essentially said, this is why Stephen A. Smith wanted Max Kellerman gone. Now, T.O. will co-sign that and say facts, and this was the clip they were talking about.
Mentioned obviously Max is going to get in here, and like I said, I'm in the streets. Max almost seems blacker than you, Stephen A. with his coming, with his commentary.
With all due respect, my brother,
I'm just saying, dog.
Wait a minute, wait to finish.
I'm just saying.
I'm gonna check you right now. You don't cross the line.
I'm just saying.
Tom, wait a minute. You don't cross the line.
I would agree with Stephen A. Smith here, bruh. I don't care how good Max Kellerman raps.
York's a state, my city's in. A man who I hate, I pity him like a Branch Davidian. Got skills, got stamina, got hands of stone like the champ from Panama. Bodies drop for body shots, cause I could box. No need for clocks or karate chops. So if you wanna see who the best be, come and test me, come and test me, come and test me.
He would never be blacker than an actual black man. Like, cut the raccoon activities out, bruh. That is out of control. But that always stung Stephen A. Smith, right? Because Max Kellerman and Skip Bayless were both on the same side of the social justice issue, but Skip Bayless will speak as if, yo, help me out, Stephen A. Smith, man. I'm having a hard time grasping, right? But Max Kellerman will speak with authority because he's from the hood, he's from the inner city, and he could speak for these, you know, certain inner city things that Skip Bayless couldn't speak from because Skip Bayless is from like the country. So Stephen A. Smith, I believe, always resented Max for that people viewed Max as more on code and more of a brother than Stephen A. Smith. Well, Stephen A. Smith would respond back to T.O.'s comments. Now, T.O. just said facts. He didn't even go off of Stephen A. Smith. He just said facts. But Stephen A. Smith would unload on T.O. Now, as for this dude, that's an entirely different story. You know how I feel about your sorry-ass Terrell Owens, and you know why. You should thank your heavenly father I haven't zeroed in on you with the trifling issue tried to pull. Tell folks to ask ESPN what your desperate ass tried to pull. Keep on talking. Eventually, you'll expose yourself. Yo, Stephen A. Smith is talking like a Teflon, bro. Like a real Don Gordon. He continued, he says, or maybe I'll just dedicate the entire Stephen A. show / podcast on YouTube this Monday to all the things you try to do behind the scenes to brothers. Over the years, while claiming someone is more of a brother than others, let me think about that over the next 24 hours. Hashtag sick of this. Hashtag enough. T.O. pulled an 8 Mile and exposed himself before Stephen A. Smith went on his podcast to quote-unquote expose T.O. and get the numbers. T.O. took to Twitter, tagged Stephen A. Smith and said this. Now, Stephen A. asked me if I'm scared. I thank God every day, or at least I try to, but do what you do best. I'm not worried. You don't have to make some bold attempt to expose me because I have nothing to hide. You're mad because of the advice my attorney after we filed against ESPN because on air without my consent, you shared our text conversation. I'm not sure that constitutes as desperate, but enlighten us all. So my boy, hone in on me, I'm good. I'm blessed, and God got me. You're still salty about that interview I did with you and Max a few years ago, which I do agree. Stephen A. Smith doesn't salty about that, right? And I said what I said, and today I'm still Team Max. Got that man fired. That's messed up. So Stephen A. Smith is essentially threatening to expose T.O. for what he deems as snitching. Yo, you see how the street culture got even the civilians messed up? Stephen A. Smith thought in his head that exposing the fact that T.O. filed a lawsuit against ESPN and him for sharing a text conversation that wasn't supposed to be shared is essentially T.O. snitching and betraying the quote-unquote brother code, and that would have been the Thor hammer for T.O. Yo, I don't think Stephen A. Smith have been paying attention online, bro. Like, we don't care about snitching anymore, right? Like, at all. And filing a lawsuit don't really constitute a snitching, and T.O. ain't a street dude at that. So why would people even care that T.O. filed a lawsuit? Why would that be exposing? But before you guys get up out of here, man, like and sub to the channel, please. And also click on the video somewhere on my screen to find out why this information that Young Thug's father just leaked makes Young Thug look pathetic. Click on this video to find out why. I'm going to see you guys in this video. I'm out of here, folks. Peace.